welcome if this is your first time here. So today I have a video where I'm going to be talking about how I up-leveled my reality from, I don't even know how long ago. I've been on my inner work journey for a while now, for a few years. And something that I've just noticed is that I used to think in the beginning that there will be a time when you stop doing inner work where you would just feel healed and you would never have to do inner work again, but that is a lie. That's not true, because you're always just expanding on the levels that you have reached. Even if you've done basic inner work and you feel healed, which is I think the level that I was trying to get at before, you're still continuously always doing inner work because you're continuously getting out of your comfort zone if you want to grow as a person. You can never just get to a point where you get to a place and you're like, oh, okay, I'm done with my inner work. That's how you get stagnant and you start to feel kind of bored and just you don't feel satisfied in life. So growing and evolving and doing things that scare you on every level, every new level that you reach is an essential part of inner work, and it is why it is your best friend. This is something you invest in long term and something that will just compound for your future. It will just compound and you will see how it shows up in your life in the present and in the future. So I have some notes here on a few things that I want to talk about on how I was able to up-level my current reality when I was already in the reality that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm tired of feeling lost and not knowing what to do, or feeling unworthy, or feeling a lack of confidence, or not being able to follow through on things I wanted to do. All of these things made me feel so stuck and made me feel like I just had to stay this small person and I couldn't just be who I wanted to be. Because if you can see the version of yourself that you already want to be, it means it's already available to you. You can become that person now by making small changes in how you show up. So knowing that first helped me know that it was possible, because without that, I just felt that I was just small. I couldn't do it. I kept listening to the voices in my head that were like, oh no, like it's like when you pay attention to the things that you're doing in the present that aren't aligning with your higher self, and you're like, oh yeah, this is how I show up now and this is who I am. But when you just disconnect from that voice and you start listening to your higher self and thinking, okay, what would she do if she were in this moment? What is the choice she would make if she were in this moment right now? And acting from that place and knowing that it's possible to reach your dream reality from just acting from that place. And so the first thing that I have here is self-awareness. Learning to be aware of how certain things affect you, and if someone triggers you, being able to stay present and notice, okay, this person did this and it triggered me, because it could have been someone else that just literally did this. Like someone else could have just been like, this could have happened to someone else and they would have been completely fine and not triggered by it. Why is it that you were triggered by this specific thing? So starting to literally just become aware of all the thoughts that you have. Why is it that you think the way you do? Why is it that you react to certain things when someone does something? Not everybody reacts to it that same way. So there is something there for you to learn. And when you start to get out of the space of blaming other people for how your life is, that's when you actually start to become self-aware and make changes in your life. Because it's easy to just sit here and like be a victim and say, oh, it's this person's fault, they're acting like this. It's this person's fault for me not getting this. It's this person's fault. It's my parents' fault for me having all this trauma. Like you can just sit here, and it's more comfortable that way. I wouldn't say enjoyable, but it's more comfortable to say, oh, it's this person's fault, because you don't have to do anything about it. You can just stay where you are and you can just keep being you. But then you're not happy with how you're showing up in this life. So self-awareness is so important. Just becoming aware of the things that you're repeating in your head. Like, most of the thoughts you have in your head, they're not that productive. They're so repetitive, but it's helpful in this instance because then you can catch, oh, like this thing that I'm thinking about, like this came from this, and this is why I keep showing up in this way, because this is my belief about it. So you start to catch your beliefs, you start to catch certain things about yourself that you may have not even known from before. So that is the number one thing. And the other, I want to mention something about this too, is don't start to pay attention to your thoughts and then beat yourself up about the thoughts that you're having, because that's just another way to fall into being a victim and feeling bad for yourself, which sometimes we can be addicted to. So don't go and listen to your thoughts, and like when you become self-aware, you're gonna be like, oh my god, like there's some things going on here that I'm like, should I be in a mental institution at this point? Like, you're gonna start to be worried, but don't be worried. This is just, you're just noticing all the things that are going on, but don't beat yourself up about it. It's just, you're just noticing it, and that's it. It's just there. And it's just for you to learn more about yourself. It's nothing to beat yourself up over, because that's just gonna cause you to go more into feeling like a victim and feeling bad for yourself, which is already what you're trying to get out of. And then the second point I have here is, actually my second point, I think I already went over it, is to stop blaming others for your experience and to start taking accountability. And this is something that I really, really struggled with. And people kept bringing it up to me in my life, in my close relationships, where they would say things like, I've never actually heard you say that you're sorry for something. And I was like, what? Like, oh my God, I actually never, like, even for small things, like I'll like bump something and it falls over and I just don't even say sorry. Because for me, I just wasn't used to taking accountability in big or small ways. So saying I'm sorry, like for me, I thought, that makes me look weak. Like, I'm not sorry. And like, it's just, I didn't think anything was my fault. But no, that's not like how life works. Sometimes you just do certain things and it doesn't mean anything bad about you. You just learn from the experience. And if you hurt someone, or if you did something that you actually feel sorry for, but you don't express it, then you're just like, you're kind of creating more problems for yourself, and you're kind of creating like stuck emotions in your body. Because sometimes there were times where I would feel sorry for doing a certain thing, but I just couldn't bring myself to actually admit it. Obviously this is different. There are also people who don't feel sorry and they do things that are just not really aligned, and like they could hurt other people and just not feel sorry. And that's another issue. That's because you're not self-aware. So that's why the first step is to become aware of your behavior and how it's affecting other people. And the second part of it is to take accountability for what you are, there are consequences to your actions. So becoming aware of that and expressing when you need to actually, when you do feel sorry, and when you need to just take accountability for what you're causing in your reality. And the third thing that I have here is that I changed the way I interact with people. So I remember there was a point where I just stopped. Like, I made the decision, I'm no longer going to gossip with other people. I'm no longer available to gossip and be involved in drama, because it just drained my energy, and I was no longer available for friendships that just kind of were mediocre. They didn't bring anything to my life. They drained my energy. Like, I'm not here to be anybody's therapist. I am here to show up for you as a friend, and show up for you and be emotionally supportive when you need it. But I am not here to constantly be available for a friend that just needs to see a therapist. And there were friends in my life that I just surrounded myself with that literally just needed to see a therapist, and I would just sit there and be drained by the energy of that, and it was just not adding anything to my life. It was taking away from my energy that I could have been using for something else. And if you have any friends in your life where you just feel so drained when you hang out with them, and you just feel like this doesn't feel good, when we come together, we don't generate more energy, we don't uplift each other up, we are not growing together, that's a red flag. That's not how I want to live my life. Those are not the kind of relationships I want to have. The people that I want to surround myself with, I want them to be relationships where we're growing together and we are there for each other when we need it. And actually, a part of this too that I didn't mention is realizing that I was also contributing to that, right? Like from the first 2 points that I made, realizing my part in it, I was contributing to that energy, and I was contributing to the gossip, and I was because for me it was like, oh yeah, like I do also want to complain, and I do also want to feel bad for myself, and I also do want to feel like a victim and blame other people for what's happening in my life. But at a certain point of doing inner work, and this is why you'll notice you're changing slowly as you do your inner work, you become unavailable for certain things, certain activities, certain people, and just doing that alone, I did not feel available for that anymore. My energy was too precious to spend complaining and blaming, and like you give people time to kind of catch up with you sometimes, but if they don't catch up, you don't have to just sit there and babysit anybody. That is not your responsibility to use your life force energy to sit there and kind of try to change someone that doesn't want to change. That's not your responsibility. That's not what you're here for. Anybody who is willing to change, they are more than welcome to be my friend, and we can grow together. So that was a really big one that I struggled with. Removing friends that I just do not like, changing how I interact with people, and removing anybody that didn't really align with the new reality that I was trying to create for myself. And also setting boundaries. I'm still working on this now, but setting boundaries has actually been a game changer. And even in my work, I used to work with a lot of men where they would just say weird comments, and just like you girls know how it is as a woman when you're working with a lot of men. It's like, and it was like older men too that would make weird comments towards me. And as I was doing my inner work, before I would just laugh and like be like yeah, like just like be like go along with it. And then as I started to do my inner work, I'm like, I'm not available for this. Like, I'm no longer available for this, whatever you think you're doing. Like, and then I would just speak up and say something. I remember like there was this one incident where one of my coworkers said something to me. I don't even remember what it is anymore. But he said something, and it was something that he consistently did. He would always speak in this way, and he would always just kind of treat women a certain way. And he tried to do it with me. And as soon as I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not gonna take this. And if I don't say anything now, he's just going to keep acting like that. And so I said something back to him, and I said, you do not need to be speaking to me that way. Or like, I don't even remember what I said, to be honest. I need to think about it, but I don't want to take up time. But I remember I said something, and he was so put off by it because that's not like me to do something like this. And like after that, he was mad at first. He was kind of like, the next day he was like, so are you okay? Like, was something like, are you going through something? And I'm like, no, I'm fine. And I started to acting completely different. Like, I didn't keep acting the same way of like being kind of like closed off. I literally did it in the moment, and that was it. And so when I came back and I was just acting normal, he was so confused. He was so confused. And then as the time went on, he literally respected me more for setting that boundary. He spoke to me differently in the future, and he actually, like, he wouldn't bring up certain things in front of me. He would speak to me with respect. Like, I didn't expect that. I thought he would just ignore me and kind of like do something completely different, but he started respecting me for setting that boundary and treating me differently than every other woman around. And I wish he could just start doing that with everyone else, but you know, that's their own thing. Like if they want to set a boundary, they can do that too. But yeah, I was surprised at that. But at the same time, not really, because he needed to hear that. Like maybe that's just what he was waiting for, and he just like, it's like when people poke you and they keep trying to see what's the limit. Maybe that's what he was trying to do, and I just like was like, no, we're not doing that. But yeah, setting boundaries, I like cut off gossiping. There were people that I was texting with in my workplace that would just continuously gossip, and I was just like, I removed myself from the group, and they were so confused. They didn't understand why I did it, and when I told them, they just were like they kind of felt weird about it. But I was just like, this is really draining to like listen to gossip and to contribute in gossip, so I just let that go. And then one other thing that I changed in how I interact with other people is asking for what I need, specifically in my relationship. Is like asking for what I need was so scary to me before. First of all, I didn't even know what I needed. So the first step for me was part of the self-awareness is becoming aware of what it is that I need and becoming comfortable with asking for it. Knowing that it doesn't mean that I'm less than, like, I'm not really, how do I want to put it? Like, I'm not weak for asking for what I want, which I think is what I thought before. That's what I thought. I thought that if I ask for what I want, then that means like I can't do it myself, or that someone else has to help me. But yeah, learning to ask for what I want and becoming comfortable with that was a really big one for me. And then the next thing that I did, you notice how these are going in order, kind of in order. The next thing that I worked on this throughout the entire process, but they're all kind of connected. So I started changing my diet. And what I ate, and I just became more aware of what I put in my body. I used to eat so much junk. Like it's been a few years now. My diet has changed so much over the years by learning what works for my body and what doesn't. But my diet used to be so horrible, and just changing that alone gives you so much energy to actually do the inner work and to up-level your life. Because if you're just consistently feeling slow and fatigued and like put down by all the food that you're like the junk that you're putting in your body, you're not going to feel your best. You're not going to look your best. You're not going to feel like doing the inner work, because it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need to take care of your physical needs first, which is at the bottom, like food, shelter, and not like just any food, like being able to actually give your body what it needs and being able to like feed yourself things that are going to nourish you. So that's in order to get to the level of doing inner work. Like you need to feel okay in your body and feel that you have the energy to actually move forward and set boundaries and tell people I'm not going to gossip anymore, and end certain like relationships in your life. You need to not be in survival mode and be in constantly in your body, because if you're just constantly in pain from a certain diet you have, you are fatigued by the diet that you have, you're just like, there's so much going on in your body that you're not even able to go to the next level. You're not going to be able to do any of these things that I mentioned. So I should have mentioned that one first. That's one of the first things that I worked on, was my diet. And it's first you need to actually realize that I guess the self-awareness maybe is the first step, because then you realize that you do need to change your diet. It doesn't really matter. You just go with what works for you. Start off by paying attention to what is going on in your body, and that will actually help you connect with what foods work best for you. what, like listening to the signals that your body's sending of whether to drink water or drink this, I don't know, smoothie that I have right here. Like doing small things like that where you start to, and actually educate yourself too on nutrition. This is something that I spent like 2 years learning about, and I love learning about nutrition, is learning about all the different diets that there are, learning what will work, because there's so many online that you'll start following one that someone says and you're like, oh, I found a new diet, and then you're like, this is gonna work, and then that's literally what I went through. And then you find, like, you're like, no, this is not working for me, and then you find a new one and you're like, okay, I'm gonna try this one now, and then you find a new one and you're like, okay. It's like people are sharing what worked for them, doesn't mean necessarily that it will work exactly 100% for you. So just educate yourself on nutrition, take out junk foods from your diet, and just start to kind of take care of yourself. I feel like people already know what they need to do. They already know what's healthy and what isn't to a certain extent. I don't know if like everybody knows nutrition on a deep level or even on a basic level. But yeah, just start to educate yourself, invest in yourself. Something that literally has transformed my life is investing in myself. Like, I have read books about finances that teach you how to invest in Roth IRAs and invest in your brokerage accounts and all of that kind of stuff for your future. But investing in your inner work is also like that also compounds. Like, invest in your inner work. I've invested in coaches, I've invested in courses. All of these things have helped me to get to the next level of my journey, because learning all the things that other people have learned has helped me on my journey. And there are so many books also. I didn't even mention books. Like, oh my gosh. So there are so many books that I have read throughout the years that it's kind of hard to like mention all of them. But one I'm gonna mention like a few and say how they've helped me. So one of them is The Body Keeps the Score. That one has helped me understand how trauma gets stored in your body over time, and you kind of become like, your body can become stuck in certain areas or in certain memories, and if you're not able to just release the trauma, it stays in your body and you become kind of stuck a little bit, and it kind of prevents you from moving forward. So learning about how to move trauma out of my body through movement was one of the ways that that book has helped me. Doing things like yoga, doing things like dancing. I don't necessarily like intense yoga. For me, I like yin yoga, which is super slow, and it's actually meant to be yoga that helps you release certain emotions from your body. It's a yoga where you kind of like just sit in different poses for like 5 minutes, and it's a really long time, but like you literally get to just sit with your body, and you get to just sit and see things being released. And the more you release, the more you notice your body kind of like going more into the pose, and the more you go into the pose, the more emotions you're releasing. So I love yin yoga. That helped me so much on my journey to actually release a lot of stuck emotions, especially in the hips. And another one that I have is Loving What Is by, I think, Byron Katie. That book was like, it was really shocking for me to read, because it was in the beginning of my journey when I just didn't ask myself the right questions. And the book, she, like, one of the big things that she has in the book is she talks about, like, it's like this one question that she asks herself when a thought comes up, and you just ask yourself, is that true? Is that really true? Because a lot of the time we just go on and believe our thoughts, and we're like, yeah, no, this is what I'm thinking and this is what it is, even though we have contradicting thoughts all the time. Like, I could literally say one thing and then the contradicting thought would come in, and I'm like, okay, I'm a crazy person. Like, no, like, you don't have to believe your thoughts, because you're always contradicting yourself. And that's actually another book that helped me with this, is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Oh my gosh, I've read that book like maybe 4 times, and I'm just amazed every single time I pick up something new from it. And it literally, oh my God, it just talks about how the voice in your head, how you can open your heart and let go of the voice in your head that's constantly like berating you. And that's literally what you're going through when you're in survival mode. Like the voice is like just like non-stop negative, and you have your heart closed from all the trauma that you have gone through. So that book really, really helped me just understand myself more, understand the voice inside my head, and just open up my heart. And another one that I love is it's called You Can Heal Your Life, and it's by Louise Hay. This book is amazing because it really helped me kind of like take a more compassionate approach to the way I speak to myself. And I see a comment. I think it's in Arabic. I don't know what it says, to be honest, but it's okay. So the book You Can Heal Your Life, it was honestly amazing because she shares a lot of affirmations in there. The best way, she shares how to speak to yourself, how to kind of stop criticizing and judging yourself. So I love that book a lot. It has taught me how to be more compassionate with myself. So anyways, I think that is it for this video, and I have so many more points that I would want to go over, but it's gonna be too long for this video. I will share it in another one, but I hope that you found this helpful. This is how I got started, and this is what has helped me just throughout the past few years. Like, these are the things that have kind of helped me build a foundation, and I hope that they do the same for you. So thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.